Welcome to Mission Driven Founders, where passion meets purpose. If you're dreaming of starting your own business, whether in wellness, education, or any field where purpose meets impact, you're in the right place. We are going behind the scenes with inspiring entrepreneurs who are not just building brands, but driving real change. So hit subscribe, tap the bell for updates, and stick around. This conversation could be the spark that ignites your journey. Today, I am so excited to introduce Anne Karber. Anne is an entrepreneur, a sober coach, and the author of the Life Hack Playbook, Proven Shortcuts to Peace and Purpose. She is someone who lives with a relentless thirst for life, and she's also deeply committed to the real talk required to find true peace. Now, let's dive into Anne's inspiring journey and see how she's contributing to our movement and making a difference in the world. Anne, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Wanda, for having me. I appreciate it.
I can't wait to learn all about you, your story, your book, your work. So, we are going to start with Anne. You said that well behaved women rarely make history. And I absolutely love that and agree 100%. And your own journey proves it. So, you started out in the gritty, high pressure world of construction and logistics, a field that requires a serious amount of hustle and grit. I love that you started there, building from the ground up, literally. So it explains so much about your no fluff approach today. You aren't just talking about peace, you are talking about the structural integrity of our lives. We'd love to know, how did that early experience in construction prepare you for the deeper work of building lives and businesses rooted in purpose?
Great question, by the way. So I think the big part of construction and everything that I got into, I look back now and it feels like a setup because obviously construction is a very male dominated field. And for me and my path and very early on in my career, it aligned very well with being in my masculine, very much connecting with men and, not emotions, not vulnerability, all of the things that kind of went into it. And so it just I always brought this grit and hustle of like, what was the next thing that I wanted to be doing? And in construction, it was a target rich environment for being able to do that because it was, okay, what's the next job? What's the next thing? What's the next goal that I'm going to be working towards? And so it just really laid the foundation for my entire career. That's all I ever knew up until more recently in the last decade or so. But it really was a fun career to cut my teeth in and to really get my hustle on in.
It's a great way to start with the hustle because it's not easy to work with mostly men sometimes. And it is hard work. It is not for everyone.
It's not. And then also in addition to that, after I had been in that industry for, 10 years ish, my husband and I decided to start our own business in construction. And so we did that as well. And if for anyone that has worked with their spouse, they understand that brings a whole nother level of challenges. And so, but again, I think everything to date has just kind of been a setup for what I'm doing right now, what my mission is right now, because I wouldn't have all of the experience, all the lived knowledge, all of the all of the things that build up to who I am today. And I wouldn't change a thing. All of the hard and messy and good stuff in there as well. It's been a setup.
I love how you put things as a setup, and I agree, because when we look back at all the challenges, all the hardships that we had, and we see where we are today, we're like, oh, now I understand why that happened. That was preparing me for this. That was setting, the stage for what I have today, for what I'm building today. So I love the positive approach to what happened in the past. I think it's just fantastic because then you don't get that bitter feeling, or you don't become, resentful of what happened to you in the past. You just see it as, things that happened for you and that you have to. I like when you say that, for you, because I've been listening to your podcast a lot and loving it. It does. It happens for us to grow, for us to learn, right?
Yes, absolutely. And also being able to come from a perspective where you're grateful for the hard things. When life deals out hard things for me, even though they're painful, even though they challenge you, I come from a place of gratitude because I really believe that that's what helps us grow. If you didn't have anything to flex your muscles on, or to strengthen your mind or your emotions or whatever that looks like, we would just be stagnant. So when things come to my table, or it's like, okay, this is a hard one, I'm like, welcome, let's get into it, and I just come with that attitude. But I do think that it's such a mindset. Instead of thinking that life is happening to you, it's happening for you. No one ever said it was going to be easy. No one ever said it was going to not have its challenges. It's like, buckle up and let's dive in.
That's the best perspective. Thank you for the challenge. Now let's see what it's teaching me and let's grow with it, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And you've clearly built a devoted community through your podcast and your coaching work. How do you feel? Who do you feel is actually the most drawn to your message of unshakable optimism? When people come to you, whether they are struggling with challenges, if they're reading your book or just listening to your podcast, what is the primary struggle that they're trying to overcome when they come for you for your coaching or anything, any help?
Yeah, I think a lot of people just get into this really negative mindset because it's so easy with the world that we live in nowadays. Everything comes from this negative perspective. Everything comes from a place of excuses and why you're not doing better than you are. Everything comes from this um, almost like lackadaisical kind of attitude. And for me, I just take a completely different approach, and I think it's infectious. I think I actually magnetize people in, because I live so free that other people feel the weight of their own chains. But it is just a mindset shift when they come to me and they're like, I don't know what to do with this or that, and they think that it's so hard to change. It's really just being able to visualize a different mindset and step into that. It just changes everything without even changing any of the circumstances that go into it. It's just how you view it. And again, it's as simple as, something of I have to, reframing that to I get to, because again, people think life is going to be a certain way. Who said? Right? Who said it was going to be this way that you think it's going to be? I personally am a recovering control freak. I spent decades of my life thinking everything was going to be the way that I wanted it to, and then when it didn't turn out that way, I would be disappointed or resentful or any of those things. And it's like, no one ever guaranteed that. Life is messy. Life is real messy. And when you can come at it from this beautiful mindset of bring it on, right? Bring it on. Whatever is supposed to happen today. I have worked on all of the tools to be able to handle whatever life deals to me. And also, I understand that today is a gift and I will use it accordingly. I think a lot of people get into this hamster wheel where they're not honoring themselves and they're not making the decisions that really take care of their goals and their tribe and their people, and then they wonder why they're miserable. And it's like, it's not rocket science, but you do have to be willing to kind of take a savage, self-aware look at your life and what decisions you've made to get you to that point, and take accountability for it, because there's no power in victimhood. And so if you want to live that life, enjoy that. But that's why people come to me, is because they see the light, they see the magnet, they see the energy that I bring to the table, because I'm constantly striving for better ways to do things and ways to share that with other people. And so that's what initially draws them in, and then you're kind of messed, you're kind of screwed after you get into my orbit, because I do have a lot of fun going on in life, and I just make certain that others understand that that's possible, instead of just triaging your mediocre life every day with whatever your numb of choice is. So I jumped all over with that answer. I apologize. I get so passionate about being able to help people, because I just think so many people think it's so much harder than it really is. And while I have spent a decade of my life really diving into all of the things that I needed to fix in my own life, now I've kind of condensed them into kind of the cheat codes, is what I call them, right? You don't have to do the whole thing. This is like the CliffNotes of here's the important stuff. And then also distilled through my silly brain of how I see things. But I do think it slaps for people. I think people get that and go, oh, I never thought about, as an example, the fact that a yes to someone else is a no to me, right? Or, when you're weighing a heavy problem, it's like take the emotions out of it, use it as a math problem. It's either this or that. But the way that my brain sees things tends to be something that other people appreciate and they're able to relate to as well. And so if you find yourself in my orbit, it's hard to get out.
I can see that happening because positivity is something that, people want to have and they're going to attract to that. And once you get it, you don't want to let it go, of course. You don't want to go back to the negativity. But you did say something that you now live very free. Was it always like that? Was there a pivoting moment in your life? Like what led you to live this very free life, and how long did it take for you to get there, or what happened for you to get there?
Yeah. So I've always been, I think, a hustler, a hard worker, positive person. But about 10 years ago, I had an event that happened in my life where my sister, who is just about a year and a half older than me, died unexpectedly in a really tragic way. And it just rocked me to my core. I had already been a very heavy drinker up to that point. And when she passed away, I didn't know how to deal with grief. I had spent my entire life thinking that vulnerability was weakness, that emotions looked messy, and I didn't want anything to do with them. And so when that truckload of grief got dropped off at my front door, I didn't know what to do with it. And I spent the next 18 months after that really just drinking my life into a real mess. I was still functioning and running my business and things like that, but I was not plugged in. I ended up going to rehab and getting sober. And from that point forward, just really realizing that there was a lot of gunk underneath that I didn't know. There was a lot of reasons why I was numbing out, right? My numbs of choice were alcohol, and I was also a workaholic, which people in this society praise that because I produced and I was able to just really dominate in a male dominated field of I'll show you, right? No problems. I'll outwork whoever I need to. That doesn't really do any favors to your family or your tribe, people that care about you and want to have you in their lives as well. So really just figuring out, okay, what does this need to look like for me? It really shook everything in my whole orbit up. And so I just found myself on this journey of therapy, of healing modalities, of reading personal improvement books and listening to podcasts, and really just getting very curious in who Anne was and how she had gotten to that place. My story is different in that I grew up very fast in life. I didn't have time to kind of figure out who I was, and so this whole thing just led me down this path of kind of a self-exploration journey. And everything that I figured out, I was able to be like, okay, well, maybe I read it a certain way, but then I would run it through my brain, which I call my Anne filter. And the way that I would spit it out the other side was like, okay, I can get my hands around that. I can get my head around whatever that concept is that maybe seems really big and intimidating. But when you break it down to just kind of the simple basics, it's like, okay, I can work with that. And so then I just really started working with that on steroids. I just kept watching as the more work that I did, the more things that I released, the more trauma that I processed. I kept feeling lighter and lighter and lighter, and to the point where now today I literally feel like I could float away at any minute because I'm not weighed down by all of those things. So many people think it's fine, I'm fine, everything's fine, and it's like, no, dog, it's not. Like, that's not how it is at all. Like, if you haven't processed trauma, things that happen to you, regardless of what level you think that is in your childhood or things that have happened to you before, I highly recommend it. Because is it work and is it hard? Yes, it's just a different hard than continuing to be on this hamster wheel of life where it just serves up hard things every single day. Now you can do it in a way where you're able to make an impact in your life. And the difference between the old Anne and the new Anne, it's not even a contest. Like, and I thought I lived a great life back then, right? Like, I thought that was great, but on a scale of 1 to 10, it was like a 4 compared to a 10 now. And it's like, again, it's not any harder of work. It's just different. I think we've been um, programmed and distracted with all of these things that don't really matter. And when you reframe your mindset a little bit to realize, like, what is important to me, what are my goals, what do I want, and then get real about that, you'll just watch your life skyrocket.
I agree 100%. Getting to know yourself, having that awareness, who who am I and what do I want? Because usually what we do is we do what our parents want, we do what our husband wants, or we do what our friend wants, and then we don't look at ourselves and we get lost. In the middle of life, we're getting lost to where where are we going? Is this what I want, or is this what everyone around me wants me to do? And
Yes, and
right. So I think the freedom, when you say I live free, you live by what you want to do. And we change every day, we evolve every day. So that's part of the process of life, right?
it is. And like you said, the getting lost component is a really big piece of that, because so many people, I think, don't even realize maybe that they are lost. But it's like, if you can't ask yourself and like touch base with yourself and say, where am I? What are my goals? Where do I want to be? What's important to me? You are lost. It's like
Yes.
I didn't even realize how lost I was. And I look at it now and it's like, oh my God, like vulnerability and my emotions are my superpower. Like emotional intelligence, I will maintain that is way more important than IQ every day, right? Because you watch all of these people that are really smart IQ wise, and then their emotional intelligence is garbage. And it really affects so much of your life. You cause your own suffering because you don't, have an awareness about it. And it's like, we never were taught to further advance that. It's like everybody got to middle school and then we stopped. There's this whole stigma about self-improvement books, and they try to rebrand it about, now it's called this, now it's called that. And it's like, don't we all realize that we should be putting it, investing in ourselves and working on ourselves? Do you really want to live middle school over and over again? But that's what a lot of people are doing. Like the majority of the population is out there, living this hamster wheel life where they're not really loving what it is that they're doing for their job. They pick whatever their numb of choice is, right? It could be booze, it could be food, it could be doom scrolling or TV, whatever any of that looks like. That's where all of your hopes and dreams go to die, just so everyone understands, is in any of that numb of choice. No judging. I've spent decades in that. But once you realize that there's a different way, it should make you want to improve yourself in whatever way you can handle at that point. And it doesn't always have to look like, a lot of people say, oh, I don't have money for therapy, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. Everybody has a device in their pocket that has the World Wide Web on it. Go ahead and Google some resources of whatever it is that you want to work on about yourself, and figure yourself out. Go all in on you, instead of watching The Office for the third time, or whatever reruns everybody watches. I talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, I just watched The Office for the fifth time. And I'm like, what are you doing? Life is in session. Today is a gift. You're not going to get it back.
Once you wake up, it's gone. It's
Yeah.
gone. You don't when my little one says, oh my gosh, I'm 9, I can't wait to be 10. I said, no, you're not only going to be 9 once. So live the 9 and then go to
Yes.
the 10. Because when you look back, you're going to say, oh, I was 9. I was 9 just yesterday.
Yeah, it goes really quick. And so I think there's a big component of that, of like really being plugged into the now. There's that book, The Power of Now, and it talks about really just being focused on whatever it is that you're in the moment of. And when you can really implement that into your life, what a game changer that is. Just being able to really be plugged into the enjoyment of whatever's happening right now, instead of this life where we just keep moving the goalpost. There's so much stuff where societal pressures, and from parental and religious, and like all of these different things that we were programmed with. When you realize, if you keep those beliefs, that's on you, right? Maybe you weren't the one that gave them to you, but you're the one that holds them, right? That holds those limiting beliefs. You don't have to do that. So it's like, things that don't serve you, get them gone, right? Things that you want in your life, call them in. It's like, it really is that simple. I know it sounds crazy, because people, when they're in this point of their life, are like, oh, you're so frustrated and so down on things. But it's like, there's a couple of steps that will get you to the place of really going on this self exploration for yourself, to figure out who you are and what you want. It's the coolest thing you'll ever do in your life. I guarantee you, there's not anything more interesting on social media or on the TV programming. Guarantee it. And so it's like, and then you're the only one that benefits, you and your entire family and your tribe, and you're the one that benefits. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
That's so true. People feel stuck, but no one is stuck. We're
Yeah.
not stuck. We're stuck in our own decisions that we make, right?
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And let's talk about your book, The Life
Yes.
Hack Playbook. And it's all about proven shortcuts to peace and purpose. I am curious about the hustle that went into the book itself. Can you take us behind the scenes of how you distilled your life's work into these specific hacks? And what was your process for deciding which tools were powerful enough to make the cut? And how did you ensure they were simple enough for someone to use in the middle of their own chaos? Tell us everything about the book. I
Yeah.
need to read it.
Yes. So it's funny because I've always been at any stage of my life as passionate as I am right now. I'm a very passionate person. I get very excited about things. So some of the hacks that are in there are things that came before 10 years ago, and some of them are ones that I learned in therapy, but they all seemed very important as just fundamentals, right? I didn't know anything about boundaries. And so one of the chapters is about boundaries, but it's explained in a way where it's approachable, it's relatable. I put my stories in there as far as like how this hit for me, right? All of the messy things where I went, oh, boundaries. Yeah, it's nice that I'm learning that at 40. But so it was all of the things that, there's 10 chapters, 10 main chapters. So it was the 10 things that I really felt like were the most important to lay a foundation for people, to show them that you can see things a different way instead of having it be, it isn't that things are happening to you, it's that they're happening for you. It isn't that you have to do something, it's that you get to. But then I show hacks in there of how to reframe that. One of the big chapters in the book is explaining energy in a way that, I don't want to say like dumbs it down, but for me, dumbs it down because it's like if you say energy, it's like this woo woo, what is energy? But when you explain it in a way where for me, I equate it to Skittles in my book so that you can quantify it, so that you can understand that your energy is your energy to spend and that you can spend it either mentally, emotionally, or physically. When you really understand it in a way that you can get your head around and quantify, it makes you very intentional about how you spend it. Because when you realize that energy, as an example, can either get spent losing your cool in traffic, which is definitely a big way to spend energy, or you can use that same energy throwing the ball with your kid after work. It makes it very easy for you to decide which one you'd rather. But if you didn't understand it in that way, you wouldn't even realize that you're wasting time with your kids. It was something that you needed to really work on, evolving your your emotional intelligence a little bit. So the chapters that are in there are just kind of the basics of um, pointing things out so that people realize, okay, I can take control over that. When you mentioned earlier that it's all about your choices, it absolutely is all about your choices, right? We don't have control over the big picture of things. We have a control over like what choices we make to like architect our lives into whatever it is that we want them to be. And each one of those little choices matters. But if you didn't know what the choices were, or that people pleasing is so devastating to you as a human being, like people think, oh, I'm just a people pleaser, that's how I am. It's like you're modeling that behavior and you're passing that pattern down to your children. Is that what you want your children to think is okay? So it slaps a little bit in a way where it makes people go, okay. And that's all I want to do. I want to serve up a little bit of dose of medicine that says, hey, we're all really in the weeds here in this life because we've been conditioned from all of these different outside pressures. That's not where it's at. If you get in tune with yourself, you're able to be the best version of yourself for you and for your people, and then you're passing those down to your kids. It's really powerful stuff, and it's stuff where it's not. I don't have a degree. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not all of the things that would make me qualified to do that. But I'm almost 50 and I've touched every burner on the stove. I've done all of the things that made life real messy. And I'm on the other side to share those and to also say, like, I found a different way, because that's what I feel like. I feel like I literally have found a different way to do this life, that makes it enjoyable, that makes it, it promotes connection and helps us do the work together instead of complaining about what outfit Sheila wore, or whatever silly stuff, as women, especially, that we talk about. It's like, that's middle school. Let's get on with like, how are we going to really level our lives up, and use these gifts of these days that we keep getting for good and to advance things instead of just, again, being in that mediocre hamster wheel, which is, I think, what a lot of people feel stuck in.
You gave me goosebumps because it's so true about especially women. I think women, they feel like they have to fit a certain standard, and people pleasing is part of being a woman, and you have to please your kids, you have to please everyone around you, and that's wrong. You don't
It
have to
is.
please anyone. You have to do what's right for you and for your family. That's it. And that doesn't mean pleasing. Not necessarily, right? I heard something the other day that said being nice doesn't mean you're being good. Like
Yes.
nice and good are I don't remember where I heard it, so I can't really quote where I heard it from, but it really it hit me because we try to be nice. When
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to be nice, you're people pleasing. But does that mean that you're doing good to you or even to the other person you're trying to please? Because sometimes just being a yes person is not doing even your friend or family like any favor.
It
No.
isn't. You're right. We do that so that everybody stays comfortable. But the problem is it's the absolute wrong thing that we can be doing. We were raised with this good girl or good boy mentality of like, be good, do the things that check the boxes so that you're keeping everybody comfortable. And I'm just calling BS on that. I'm saying that's absolutely not what we should be doing, even though that was what was modeled for us and what was handed down to us. I call BS because I've done it on the other side. And I will tell you that every single person that is at my table of life prefers this version. And this version of Anne had to be the version that put myself first, right? And for anybody that's out there that's, spiritual, I believe God lives in every one of us, right? So when I say put myself first, I mean all of the things, right? Myself, my higher power, which I believe lives inside of me. But I think once you connect to that, it's so incredibly exciting because what's possible is everything. Like everything is possible. And I came from this place where no vulnerability, don't process emotions, be the good girl, do the thing, be the people pleaser, not have building the resentment and all of those things. I'm telling you guys, there's a different way. There's a different way, and it's huge. It's huge what it opens up for you.
It is so true and so deep because when people call someone selfless, it's not a compliment. He
Yes.
selfless. What is this? Like, you can't be selfless. You have to love yourself first so you can love other people. You can't give from an empty cup. You just can't.
You
So
can't. And yeah, and looking at that from like looking at that, I love the analogy of like on an airplane, they tell you to put your mask on first, right? If you put someone else's mask on first, which is what I watch so many people in this life do, we're going to take care of this, we're going to take care of that until we're completely empty, especially as moms and as women. We're going to give, 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 give. Like there's a badge of honor that you get at the end of the day. And it's like, you're just passing that down to your kiddos to think that that is okay. And it's not. You're on empty. You don't deserve that, but we're not meant to be that. The big guy only gave us one person to take care of. That's ourselves. So if you do that, you will watch as it gets on everyone else. All of the positive things that come from that will bleed onto everyone else in the most beautiful way. But you have to fix your stuff first.
and I do think that everybody has been guilty of this. Every mom, especially, probably dads too, everybody has been through that or still has been going through that because even I'm 50 and I see myself doing that sometimes. Ooh, there's the pattern again. That's the way I was raised with the Catholic guilt and
Yes.
sacrifice. If you're not sacrificing something, you're not doing it right. And you're like, sacrificing, myself? No, it doesn't sound right.
It doesn't, right? But it's like that's what we've been dealt, and that's what we just continue to put in there. But like when you realize when you hold those beliefs in, that's a choice. You can't just say like, oh, that's how I was raised. Okay, but you've been risen. I'm an adult woman now. I can decide like, does that make sense to me? Because if I get real with myself and I say, okay, whatever it is, whatever was the thing that was handed down, and I get quiet with myself and say, is that what I want to believe? Is that what I want to carry forward for myself? Is that the behavior I want to model? If it's not, then you go ahead and throw that out, right? Because you're the one that gets to believe and do whatever you want. Your life is your own. Treat it like that. Don't just plug into whatever your numb of choice is and just do the same hamster wheel day over and over again. I'm telling you, I spent a lot of years doing that. And while I thought I was a good life when I was doing it, it's like living in black and white and then stepping into color for what I've done in the last several years. Like there's no contest whatsoever. And it's like, I get really excited about it because the things that are in this book, the concepts that are in this book, and the work that I do with other people, I watch as every single one of them goes, oh my God. And they just continue to have these aha moments because no one is saying it in this way where it is just simple. It is the basics. It is, you don't have to have a bunch of dictionaries out to reference what words are being put in this book. It's not like a self-help book. It's an easy read. Highly, highly, highly encourage people just to take charge of their own lives. It doesn't have to be this book. It could be whatever it is, but go on that self-exploration journey of yourself for yourself and watch as your entire life just, it's insane. It'll just rocket ship.
I can totally see that, and I can't wait to get my hands on your book.
Yes.
And every journey has its obstacles, and you've spoken openly about being an unshakable optimist and a recovering addict. What has been one of the most defining professional challenges you've faced while building your brand, and how did that experience teach you to turn a setback into a comeback? You can name one challenge, a few challenges, or the one that hit you the most.
Yeah. It's wild because I used to be a very private person, while everyone else was getting on social media when all of that was really big years and years ago. I was busy raising my family and running my businesses. And so I never really got into that. So now later in life, with the work that I'm doing with the podcast, with my book, and with the And Project, which is another thing that is going on, I have to be comfortable with visibility. And so I think that has been the biggest component of it, is just really not getting twisted up in that. I used to really care, just kind of like what was out there on me, that whole vibe. And now it's like, I don't care. I have what I think is such powerful knowledge that I would be mad if someone else had this and didn't share it, And so I had to like really work on getting over that, because now there's all sorts of stuff. You can Google my name and see all sorts of stuff that the old version of Anne would be like, oh God, it's cringeworthy, And I'm like, you know what? I do this because it's important to me. I do this because I want my kids to see that they can do anything. I want my nieces and my aunts and my mom and my sisters. Like, I want that to be something that you can do anything in this life, right? I'm a cannonballer. I am the type of person that I just jump. And so, having to figure that out on stage where people are watching has been a challenge for me, but one that I've gotten to the point of, it is what it is. This is my mission. I know that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing because I've found my purpose, and my purpose is what fuels me and literally feeds my soul. And so it doesn't feel like work when I'm hustling anymore. I don't feel like a grind. It doesn't feel like, oh, I got to do this again. It's like, oh my God, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, yes, what are we going to do with today? I literally feel like that kind of energy after doing the work that I've done.
When you live your passion, it's not work. It's who you are. It's what you
Yeah.
do every day. It's your breathing, it's normal to you. It comes naturally. And I love how you're living your passion, and at the same time, you're telling us that you are free. You live free. You're not like,
Yeah.
oh, I have to go to my 9 to 5 job. Oh, I have to do this. Because we don't have to do anything. We're not
True.
stuck to anything. And once you live your purpose, and it sounds pretty to say that, live your purpose, but until you really live your purpose, you don't really
Mhm.
understand what that means. It just sounds a little cliche, but it's really not, because once you get there, like you said, you're a cannonball. You'll go, you'll throw yourself, and you know, and we're learning every day.
Yeah.
No, you were not on stage your whole entire life. You were not on social media your entire life. So we are learning. We're learning as we go. And we only learn if we throw ourselves like a cannonball. If we don't, we just stay stagnant.
Yeah. And if I didn't do the things, right, then I would have regrets about it. And so it's like, am I going to do the things that make me uncomfortable? Absolutely. I do things that make me uncomfortable every single day. I think if you're not, I think if you're not failing at different things that you're doing, you're not trying hard enough, And so it's like, I swing for the fence every time I get up to the plate. I'm not sad about any of the things that happen. It's like, I realize that they're happening for me, not to me. And, it's exciting. It's exciting when you know that you're doing what you're supposed to. My days of the week, my Tuesday is just as valuable to me as a Sunday is, and to me, I think that's an ultimate flex in life of I don't have this, oh, it's Monday, oh, it's Friday, oh, it's the weekend's almost over. It's like literally every day has the exact same value in my life. That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm telling you from the lived experience, that's amazing.
That's the best feeling you can have. And how did you like was there any judgment when you started from family or friends or coworkers? Did anybody say, "Oh, this is not going to work. Oh, what are you doing? You have an established business. Why are you going into this?" How did you shut that noise, because there's always someone that says something that sometimes makes you doubt yourself or question like, "Ugh, should I be doing this?"
Yeah. It's interesting because I've never really put much stock into what other people think. I have a very um unique energy that just I live out loud. I live real loud, and regardless of where that was in my timeline. But so I think I've lost people over the last 10 years. I don't think people are always meant to ride through with you to the end. But those people I look at where they looked at what I was doing and it seemed like maybe that was too scary for them. Maybe that mirrored things that they weren't comfortable with, and that's okay. But I didn't really have anyone that said, you're crazy. Well, I shouldn't say that. Everyone said I'm crazy. Everyone knows that I'm completely crazy. I have this project right now where I call it the And Project. And it's really this culture shift, and it's way more than a movement. It promotes unity over division, because I think everyone on this planet is so tired of being divided. I think we have all of these this noise that comes from religion, politics, just media, social media, all of these things where everyone's yelling into the void that their perspective is right and the other person's is wrong. And it's like, I don't know what people think that they're going to gain out of that. But so I'm really plugging into this And Project. And as I do that, I have people around me that think that I'm probably nuts, because I'm like, I'm going to change the world. Like, I'm going to change the world. I believe that to my core. I believe that that's what I'm supposed to be doing here. And I believe that we're so in need of that connection and that unity. I look at what things have happened progressively for, politically, or what COVID did to us just from a connection standpoint. We're sick as a society, as humans, we are really sick. And so when I talk to people like that, I think people from the outside are like, oh my God, she is pretty crazy. And to me, I'm like, bring it on. You can say whatever you want to. I believe that my kids deserve better. I believe that my tribe deserves better. And I believe that I have everything that it takes to give it hell, to try to really, make people open their eyes a little bit, to realize you're being robbed of the thing that's most important, which is your energy and your focus and your attention. All of those people out there that profit from that is the big pharma, is the media, is the religion, and the, you know, uh, just politics, all of that stuff. We're not meant to do that. We're meant to connect with one another and say, hi, I'm Anne, and this is me. And right, hi, I'm Wanda, this is you. And like, what are the things that we have in common? I couldn't care less what your political views are. I couldn't care less what your religious beliefs are. Yes, if we connect and you want to talk about that, great. But I think those things are so divisive that it's like, why are we starting with that when we meet people? Why are we cutting off family members because they believe something different? We're not meant to like be up in each other's business in that way. We're meant to connect. We're meant to have all of that. So that's where people call me crazy, I think, more so is the And Project. And I say whatever you want. We'll see how it goes.
It's crazy that changes the world. It's not the standard normal, you know, like I don't even know what normal is, to tell you the truth.
Yes.
I don't even think normal exists because everybody has a little crazy in them. It's that crazy, that spark that
Hmm.
really makes an impact. It's not just, don't make an impact when you're just sitting there accepting everything that's going wrong in the world,
Yep.
right?
And I just need one match, right? And that's the whole thing. It's like I really come from that place of let's go. Let's go.
I love it, Anne. I love it
Yeah.
so much. I think we have so much in common. And let's talk about the giving back chain. At Crunchy Mama Box, our wellness platform, we believe that when we heal ourselves, we create a ripple effect that touches everyone around us. And your entire journey is about healing others. And that is a beautiful way of giving back. Beyond your personal work, is there any specific organization or cause that you partner with or support that helps expand your impact?
I don't know that I would say that there's anybody specifically as of yet. I think I'm very early on in what I'm doing, and so I'm definitely looking for collaborations for people that share my vision as far as the AND project is concerned. But there's not anyone specifically as of yet that I've aligned with in a powerful enough way to mention it here. So
But I love that because if an organization or someone wants to partner with you and is listening to this conversation, please reach out to Anne. We're going to put your contact information on the description for the audio podcast and the YouTube. So reach out to Anne because what she's doing is powerful. And I would love to also collaborate with you because I love
yes,
your mission.
thank you, Wanda. I appreciate that.
And we also honor leaders who embody transparency, education, and social impact through our CMB certification, which CMB stands for Clean, Mindful, and Balanced. Currently, all our certified brands are led by resilient women, which is funny. We're not against men. We welcome men, but right now our community is based of women who support each other on their own journeys. Much like how you empower your community, our work is to amplify the reach of these leaders who are doing things the right way. When you hear about the CMD certification and our mission to filter out the noise in the wellness industry, how did that align with your own commitment to setting truth on fire and making authenticity the norm?
I think that's so powerful. And I love to hear you say that and the work that you're doing, because I think it really just highlights those things that we as women, and again, I know that the men can come in as well, but we as women really find the passion to want to do that and to carry that forward. And so I love connecting with other people that have that same mindset. I think it's powerful. I think the more of us that we bring into the fold, the better that it is. And the more resources and the more tools and the more just being able to visualize things in that way, I think that's very powerful. I love that.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that because coming from you, who I admire a lot, just from researching about you, now our conversation, listening to your podcast, and soon reading your book, I think we're so aligned in our mission. And you're going to change the world in your way. We're going to change the world in our way. But I think we're all interconnected, and if we put our energies together, so many beautiful things can come out of it. And I love what you're doing. And I want to thank you, Anne, for sharing your inspiring journey, and for all the work that you do to create a more conscious world, because you've shown us how businesses can really be a force for good. And to everyone watching, remember that every choice we make can shape the future. So let's choose wisely, live intentionally, and support those who are making a difference. So stay inspired, stay motivated, and let's keep building a brighter future together. And this was amazing. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you,
in
Wanda.
our podcast.
Thank you, Wanda. I appreciate you.